Hello, welcome back to Furious Driving, and today I'm continuing the perfectification of Quentin the Rover convertible. Yes, I did just say perfectification, and I know it's not a real word. I like making up words, it's fun. I once nearly got lots of people saying SRA on the internet instead of LOL, because who really laughs out loud when most people actually silently register amusement? Anyway, now this car is back from the painters and looks fantastic. It already had the amazing red hood. It was looking pretty astonishing on the outside. I'm very proud of this, considering where it started to where it is now. I'm pretty pleased with myself, and I'm more pleased with the car itself. However, what's letting the car down now is the inside, because this leather has done not a huge mileage, but 85,000 miles or so, but it was parked outside with a sheet over the top of it for best part of a decade. So it's not as supple as it could be, and there are a lot of wear marks on the bolsters, so we need to do something about that. So I've been onto a company called the Furniture Clinic, who make leather restoration kits. Now, I've used their products before on the Rover Tomcat and the leftovers from that kit on the Mini, so I know their products are good. So I got in touch with them and said, could we maybe use a set of their restoration stuff to tidy up the inside of Quentin? I sent them my armrest lid, as that's a nice sample of what colour the leather should be, and they sent me back some nicely mixed up cans of leather colorant. I've got 3 bottles of this. I've got several bottles of propellant and a spray thing, lots of smushy sponges, some alcohol cleaner, some leather prep, some leather finish, some gloves, and some very big scouring pads. So let's take a look at this and see how amazing we can make the interior of this car look in the next, well, day or so. Now, I've gone for the large size kit to have absolutely everything I need to do the entire interior, the front seats, back seats, door cards and the rear panels if needed, because I want the entire thing to match as perfectly as possible. Now, I did refit these door mirrors, the door caps onto the black mirrors, and these weather strips pretty much the day after the last video was filmed. I had to wait for the little plastic clips to arrive for these. I had to buy all 16 of them. There's 5 on this bit, 3 on this bit, 2 sides obviously, 16 clips. They're about £1.60 each, so here's another £25–30 spent on the project. But rather than having to sort of glue these strips on with silicone or some other kind of bonding agent and just bodging it, I wanted to do it properly, get the right clips, do all that. These silver covers just clip straight on. There's 4 little clips on the back of it. Click, done. 3 screws into the door and you are there. Bob is your brother or uncle or something. He's some vague relative, probably by marriage. No one really likes him, but he's just there at Christmas every year, talking his talk. Right, so I'm going to start with the driver's side, just because it's the worst seat in the car. If you get nothing else done today, at least that will look nice, and then when it's dry tomorrow, I can move the car and do other ones. So it says, first of all, pull on your marigolds, because I guess you don't want to be getting the stuff on your hands. And it will be nice to get all the seats done properly, because I've had the rear bench lying on the front windscreen of the black Rover in the garage for the last, well, couple of months. So it says, what you do, grab a couple of cotton balls, grab your leather prep, soak your balls in prep, and then start rubbing. So basically you are scouring the surface, and you can see the colour coming off already. It does say if you've got particularly dirty seats to give them a wash, or not wash, give them a decent clean with leather cleaner before you started. But something I've been doing, well, on and off for the last couple of months actually, is giving these seats really good cleans, deep cleans even, with lots of Diamond Bright stuff. Try and get it looking as nice as possible. I think I need a bit more of this stuff, but the surface is pretty well used. I'm curious to know if this car was smoked in or something, because the leather has got quite a dark tan colour to it. And the door cards did as well when I cleaned them. They a lot of dark browny orangey colour come off them. I do wonder if this was smoked in a lot at some point. It doesn't smell like it, because normally that smell never leaves the car. Right, so stage 2 is... Right, so now we need to get the alcohol cleaner and a clean cloth to wipe off. I've got clean cotton cloth, I should add. Wipe all over the entire item of leather. This will remove silicons, waxes that are soluble in alcohol, whereas the prep removes silicons and waxes that are soluble in solvents. It also says keep your gloves on because leather will absorb natural oils from your fingers. Now what do you do next? I might go and get a hat actually, it's really warm. Right, so it says now, if you've got rough areas, the thing to do is to go and get some 1200 grit sandpaper, but this is a little rough, but I think it's probably okay. I might do a little bit of sanding on there. But then this is the bad bit. Wait 1 hour for any excess alcohol and prep to evaporate. I used to get my cup of tea. By the way, you can buy a cup of tea mug, also very suitable for coffee, hot chocolate, even cold beverages, in the Redbubble store, where there is a link below. I guess while I'm waiting, I'll go and do the other seats as well. Right, let's crack on with scrubbing some more of this stuff and try not to spill my leather prep, because if I spill that, it's game over. Interestingly, the bolsters on this passenger one are not as badly worn as on the driver's side, but the main squab has got a bit more cracking in the surface. I have to say, the driver's side already feels an awful lot softer now I've scrubbed the old crispy surface off it. The soft leather underneath is actually coming through already. Now, while it's all drying inside the car, I can do the door cards as well. Now, before I climb back in the car, there is another bit of removed trim to deal with, and this is the rear bench seat. So hopefully this can be made absolutely beautiful before I climb back in. Hopefully the vapours inside the car will have dissipated enough by the time I've done this. Oops. Is the right thing? Yeah. To go and do the rear seat back, which is obviously still attached to the car. Let's crack the windows open first because it's a little bit smelly. By a little bit I mean very, of course. And get this as scrubbed as we can. And that is the last thing done. That's the armrest that got sent off to the furniture clinic in the first place. Right, so now it's all been given a good hour plus to go off and dry, and I shouldn't have just touched that. Never mind, I'm sure it'll be fine. And yeah, I've now shaken this bottle vigorously for some time, and what you do first of all is sponge it on before you spray it on. And you say you don't apply it too heavily. I'll start with the, oops, oh, that's why I should have put old trousers on. I'm starting in the back of the car and then starting on the back of the seats so I can work everything forwards and not trap myself. Otherwise I'll have to climb out the boot. And this is really just a base coat, and it says not to worry too much about the finish at this stage. I think I'm going to have to though actually recolour the black piping afterwards, because I don't know how I'm going to do this without getting the beige onto the black piping. Well, fortunately I have still got some of the black dye set from when I did the Tomcat all those years ago. But this is actually a really good colour match. And this is kind of a tricky bit because I need to do bits that touch each other, so I guess I will do these seat base areas first, then they can dry for 15 minutes or so, and then I can come back to them. That colour is so nice. If ever you can call beige such a nice colour. so much nicer than the old dark, dirty, messy colour. I'll do the seat back as well while I'm here. And this stuff goes on easy, but it is really surprisingly tacky when it's drying. It's actually gluing my fingers and my gloves together as we go along. Oh, I wish there was a way of dealing with the pinstriping more. When I did the coupe, the Tomcat, because it's a half leather seat, I actually masked the fabric section with just masking tape, and that seemed to work quite well. But there's so many twists and turns to this piping that I don't think I could physically do that. And also I've got to spray it in a second as well. Well, as so often happens, today has become tomorrow. I spent a lot of yesterday evening playing with this thing, which is an airbrush that comes as part of the kit. They do supply absolutely everything for you, so you don't have to go hunting around for anything else. You get this and you get several cans of propellant, because using this was something I didn't film yesterday because I was trying to get the hang of it. First of all, I sponged on, as you saw, the first coat of colorant, and then the idea is that is just filling in the cracks, getting into all the nooks and crannies, and then you do the nice smooth factory finish with this thing. However, there's quite a learning curve with this thing. You have to just fine-tune the pressure nozzle. The propellant is incredibly cold, so it freezes up the can as you use it, and every, well, a panel or so, the nozzle here bungs up. I'm not sure if it's bunging up with drying colorant or if it's actually freezing as well, but you have to take it indoors, give it a really good wash out, and then carry on. So it takes a long time. So far I've done the rear bench, I've done the door cards, I've done both front seats. Now I just need to do the rear bench, and now I've got the hang of it. I'll show you how that goes. It does look really quite pretty as it goes on, just delicately all up over the seats. Now, as I wasn't able to do, avoiding the black piping, I was saying pinstriping, it's not, it's piping, I can use the leather prep, because this is the water-based colorant remover that you used in the first place, and an old sock, and carefully just go along and wipe all this stuff off. This is actually quite time consuming, and now I wish I'd figured out a way of doing this that avoided getting on there in the first place. Right, so now we're more or less done as far as the colour goes on. It's not too bad of a job getting all the brown off the black piping. It'll never be perfect, but if you go too hard with it, you can take all the new colouring off the leather as well. So now you need to put some finisher off so it doesn't stick to your clothes and just peel off as soon as you use it. There's gloss and there's matte. Cars tend to use about a 75% 25% mix, mostly towards the matte side. So let's mix up some of that and then spray it on, and then the car's good to go. I had a measuring thing. Right, that's 25%. There's a mark inside this lid, that's what I'm measuring to. They'll be happy if it's more, even matter than the standard amount. I'm hoping that's going to be about enough to do these chairs. Right then, let's make it not shiny. Yeah. So the finish on this is actually really quite clammy until you put this finish on it. takes 2 coats. So again, another fairly slow process. Right, so I'll start in the back because then I can fold the seats forward and work in the front afterwards. So it does take a couple of coats to do all of this. So it's going to take a while. I mean, I can't use the car for a solid day afterwards while it all goes off. Which does beg the question, how I'm going to move this back into the parking space it lives in. Didn't think of that one. You can tell it's starting to freeze because the coverage suddenly stops being quite as even as it was. Yeah, I've lost it. Change of cans and then we'll be okay again. It's doing better now in the daytime than it was yesterday in the evening because when it's cold outside that makes it just freeze up even faster. I'm really looking forward to getting the back seat bench back in there and those door cards. That's better. Non-frozen aerosol can, that's why they give you several cans of this stuff. Now, before I get carried away and actually reassemble the car, I did find a couple of cans of wax oil cavity wax. You can tell it works from the state of the can. Actually, it's actually quite nice on the inside, and it's a nice warm day, so it's actually rather soft as well. So I'll squirt up inside the door cards, or doors rather I should say. Oh God, well that went well. Oh, it's drippy. It's actually super drippy all over the floor. Well, I hope everything still works in there because now it's going to be disgusting to touch. But at least it should be rust free. Oh, it's dripping there instead now. Missing the cardboard completely. Next thing to do, clean the dashboard and the window in the back of the door. This is why you always have several cans of brake cleaner, in this case carb cleaner, because it's a little more gentle, on hand, just because you never know when you might have to be cleaning wax oil off your speedometer. And now there's just a little bit of reassembly. Door cards back in, obviously gluing the plastic trim damp sheet back inside the door as well, and then the rear seat once it's all given good enough time to dry off for sure, and then we're done. We've got a lovely interior. What a transformation. Suddenly the car looks so much better. Where's that glue gone? This carpet's coming away, so just a little bit of this trim adhesive. Leftovers from doing the Volvo roof or ceiling. I bought way too much, but it's been really handy having a few cans of this stuff hanging around the place. Now I wonder what I did with all the screws for this. Well, that's a pretty good result. I'm very, very happy with how this has turned out and transformed the interior of this car, because when we started it was really dry, really crispy. It was worn so thin you could basically see just nothing but white on this bolster, and there were cracks all over because the car was outside just under a plastic sheet for 7 or 8 years, really not being cared for. So this has absolutely transformed this interior. It looks amazing. There's one or two things I'm not completely happy with. I was a bit slapdash, if you like, with the black trim areas on the piping and things, and I've cleaned it up quite well, but maybe I'll try a bit more touching up and cleaning up after the camera finishes rolling. Secondly, the big screws that hold the door cards on, I put them somewhere safe and I can't remember where, so the door cards aren't quite held on properly at the moment, but I'm sure that will be solved interfrastically. Anyway, other than that, I'm really, really happy. We're virtually, I mean, literally this close to the end of this project now. This has been a longer project than I ever envisioned, getting this car from the wreck that barely rolled on 4 flat tyres to this red-winged version to the finished car you see now. Well, almost finished. One more thing to do. So thank you to Furniture Clinic for sending me out this kit to do this job with. I knew it was going to succeed because I've used their products before on the coupe. I did better with it this time because last time I couldn't make the airbrush work. This time I could, so I got a nicer result, even though the leather on this car was far worse than it was in the coupe. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this, please do hit like and subscribe. Check the playlist to go and watch the rest of this story if you haven't seen it before, to catch up on how we got to this point in this story. And join me again next time when we finally get to the point where we can put this thing for sale and say goodbye to Quentin at last.